Now, Britain has completed its first coal-free day since the Industrial Revolution, and for an entire 24 hours, the national grid relied entirely on gas, nuclear and renewable energy.
Campaigners are saying that this could lead the way for phasing the fossil fuel out before the government's 2025 target. Our correspondent Siobhan Robbins reports.
For decades, coal's been keeping Britain's lights burning. Until now. This map is the national electricity grid. For the first full working day since the Industrial Revolution, none of our power has been made from coal.
It shows that it's possible, that we can run without coal, so provide some reassurance that when there is no coal on the system, we can operate the electricity system safely.
Britain's first coal-fired power station opened in the 1800s.
Along the conveyor belt flows a steady stream of coal.
By the early 20th century, more than 1 million people worked in the mines as the demand for electricity boomed. The miners' strike in the 1980s briefly cut the supply of coal for power. Since then, the rise of new technology means usage has continued to steadily fall. So you may be wondering, without coal in the mix, how are our lights staying on? And this graph shows you where we're getting our energy from today. So this huge section in grey at around 42% represents gas. Now the next biggest slice here in green at just under 33% is from renewables. Down the bottom here in orange, we have the power from nuclear, bringing in around 17%. And then this small sliver in purple is the energy that we import. With many coal power stations reaching the end of their lives, the government's pledged to phase it out completely by 2025. Campaigners now believe that can happen sooner.
We're definitely ready to run without coal as long as the government gets on with its phase-out plans and as long as they provide incentives and support for renewable technologies.
There's still a way to go, but these first 24 hours mean we're a step closer to coal-free power in the future. Siobhan Robbins, Sky News.
Well, joining us in the studio is the environmentalist and former government advisor on the environment, Tom Burke. A very warm welcome to you, Tom. Thanks for coming in Saturday morning. This is amazing. This is a truly historic moment for us to sort of sit back and say, OK, you know what, we can actually do this.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And what's more, what's really interesting is it happened on Earth Day. So it was a real birthday present, as it were, for the Earth yesterday, that we saw the first day in 135 years when Britain wasn't producing any electricity from coal. So I think it's a pretty remarkable day. And it really does point to the future, which is a very low carbon future in which we're basically using renewables and smart meters, a sort of much more efficient system, which will be good for the economy, good for consumers, good for the climate, and incidentally, funnily enough, good for the National Health Service.
Looking at the figures this morning, we only produce coal only produces 10% of our energy at the moment anyway. So how far off are we completely getting rid of it as a source?
Well, the government's committed to come out by 2025 in this country. I think coal is still going to be around in the rest of the world for a fair while, but I think we'll probably be out of coal completely almost everywhere by 2050, and we could easily get out of coal in this country ahead of the government's target of 2025.
That's interesting. I wonder how much in all of this Donald Trump is sitting across in Washington and looking at what we're doing here in the UK and thinking maybe he was a bit misguided in directing his voters into a carbon future.
Well, he certainly was, if what he thinks is that's going to provide employment. Solar alone employs about 5 times as many people, workers in the US, as the whole of the US coal industry. So there's a lot of people who haven't really caught up with the extraordinary transition that's going on in the way in which we generate electricity. And indeed, we're a little bit ourselves in a slightly Trump mode of not really getting our act together and missing out on some of the big economic opportunities that are coming.
Fantastic. Well, Tom Beck, really good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Pleasure.